If you've ever felt stuck in your 9 to 5, like you don't want to have to work, you don't want to have to go to your job, I can totally relate. A few years ago, I completely changed the entire course of my life when I started an online business that grew to the point where I could leave my job and pursue the life that I really wanted. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what that process looked like for me, and then I'm going to show you how it could be possible for you. Because I know for me, the life that I had where I had a 9 to 5, I had to show up every day, I had to be at a certain place and do a certain thing and have certain expectations and have to ask someone else for my time off. All of that stuff I loathed to no end. I hated it so much. If you're like I was 4 or 5 years ago, you might be thinking, yeah, I hate it too, but is there a way out? Well, I found a way out, and it was hard, but I made it happen. And I'm going to show you exactly what that process looked like and how you can escape your 9 to 5 as well. Before I jump into this, I want to invite you to a live event that I'm doing tomorrow. So if you're watching this today, like when I put this out, I'm going to do a live event tomorrow called How to Start an Online Business That Makes Real, Actual Money. How's that for a creative title? Okay. I just want to call it what I'm actually doing. I'm going to show you how to make a business that makes money and that money grows over time passively so you can have the life that you want. So to join me tomorrow, go to lanesebring.com/training, lanesebring.com/training. You'll be able to register and jump on with me. I'm going to be live in the moment. I'm going to walk you through my 4 steps of creating an online business and running your online business. And then I'm actually going to give you actionable steps that you can take away and implement to create your own online business. That's all happening tomorrow, September 13th. So if you're watching this like today or tomorrow, Wednesday, when I put this out, like jump on the training, lanesebring.com/training. If you missed it, still go to lanesebring.com/training because I'm going to have something there for you. So if you're watching this months later and you're like, oh, I missed it, go to the website. You'll find something really cool there, a special bonus just for me. So to dive into this, I want to ask you a question. It's a very simple question. It's just this. Do you look forward to your work week? If your work week starts on Monday, do you look forward to Monday? Like on Sunday night, are you thinking, I can't wait to jump into all of the fantastic things that await me tomorrow and throughout this week? I get to dive back into my work. Well, if you're like a lot of people, that's probably not the case. I mean, a lot of people live for the weekend and they dread Monday. And by about Wednesday, the only thing they're holding on to is the fact that Friday's coming, right? And I get at least 2 days to live my life until I have to come back to this place and be subject to someone else's demands. That's how a lot of people live. And for me, I found myself with a very similar tension in my life. 3 years ago, I left my job. I left my 9 to 5. But the build up to that decision is a really important tension that I want to work out with you because I, like you, if you're the kind of person who you're not all that excited about your work week, you go because you have to, and maybe there's something in you that kind of actually enjoys your job, but it's still something that you resent only because you don't get to make the choice. You have to be there. If you want to get paid every 15 days, you have to ask if you want to take vacation. All those things, if that bothers you, this will really help because I'm going to walk you through what that was like for me and how I found a way out. So I want to offer this disclaimer. When I left my job 3 years ago, I worked at a church. I was an executive pastor at a multi-site church. If you don't know what that means, I basically ran the organization in a church that had multiple locations. And prior to this, I had actually worked in 4 different churches in 3 different states over a 15-year career as a pastor in various different roles on different church staffs. So I loved the calling that I had. I took it very seriously. I loved the churches. I loved the people, and I enjoyed leading the ministries that I led. But, and this is a huge but, at the end of the day, even though I worked at a church, it was still, among other things, a job. And I reached a point where I hated having a job. And there's really 3 primary reasons why. The first reason why is that I hated the limitations on my income. I didn't like the fact that no matter how hard I worked, there was just a limit to how much they were going to pay me. Now, I wasn't in it for the money. You don't get into church work for the money. That wasn't the point. But I didn't like the fact that I had a life that had a cap on my income. I've got 4 kids. I've got a golden retriever. I live in a very expensive area. I wanted to make well above what I was making. And you're just not going to make that in a church. But even if you're not in church work, it's really hard to make multiple six figures or seven figures in a job. I mean, don't get me wrong, some do, but those are really high level positions. It's very, very hard to make 5, 6, 700,000, $1 million, $2 million a year in a job, because their job really is to pay you as little as possible, as little as it takes to keep you. And if you're really in high demand and you've got an expertise, then you can make more than that. So don't come at me in the comments and say, I know people that make 700. I'm not denying that. I'm saying that's possible. I'm just saying it's hard. And for most people, it's just so far out of reach that it's not even a possibility in their mind that their job would go from paying them 70 or 80,000 to 700,000. It's just very rare that that happens. And it was never going to happen in a church situation. But I have a desire to have a life of wealth. And I've made a video about this where I said I want to make as much money as possible. I have no qualms about that. A lot of that has to do with the fact that I love to be generous. My wife and I, we love to be generous, and I want to be generous at a really high level. To do that, to be generous at scale, you have to kind of earn money at scale. And that was never going to happen in my job. So the limitations on my income, maybe you can relate to that. Maybe you're in a job where you're making like what people would consider good money, 100,000, 80,000, 90,000, 110,000. But you're looking around going, it's just getting more and more expensive to live, and this isn't enough. Either I go to another organization and just job hop and continue to be in a job where there's other restrictions that I don't like, or I go find something else. And for me, I just decided I got to find something else. The second reason why I started to not like having a job was I did not like the restrictions on my time. I did not like the fact that I had to be at a certain place at a certain time and do a certain thing in a certain way. And even though I had an executive level position, there was a lot of freedom in my position. It was still a job. I had to manage people. I was accountable to a boss still. I had other people who worked for me. I had a lot of stress and a lot of work that I took home with me, a lot of work that I had to do early in the mornings or late at night. And I didn't like the fact that if I wanted a break, I couldn't just take it. I had to ask for it. I had to say, hey, can I please have some time off? Can I go on this trip? Can I take a day off? I got to a point where I no longer was okay having to ask another person's permission for how to use my time. And maybe you can relate. I got very jealous and defensive of my time. And I started to think, I don't like this. And it's not entirely just because I want to go to the golf course every day. Nothing wrong with that, but it wasn't that. I have 4 little kids and I want to be there in these years where they are growing up. I do not want to miss anything, and I don't want to miss any part of their life because of work. I want to be present and in their life with them. And I found that more and more, the job was taking so much more away from my time that was becoming a conflict. It was hard to manage those two tensions. But the third reason, and this is perhaps the most impactful reason, is that I started to not like the fact that so much of my time and energy was being given to build someone else's vision. I had done that for so long and worked at so many different places and helped so many different things come to life that weren't the calling that I had, wasn't the vision that I had on my life, that it became somewhat of a tension where I was like, I've got this vision inside of me of the kind of life I want, the kind of impact I want to make, the kind of work I want to do, the kind of people I want to work with and help and make an impact on. And that vision is dying to see daylight because all I'm doing is really helping someone else's vision come to life. So on Sunday mornings, I would start to get a pit in my stomach about Monday. And then some mornings, especially Monday morning, but just about every morning when I'd pull into the parking lot before I'd go into work, I would stop in a space and I would sit there in my car and I would have 2 conflicting ideas. One is a sense of like, okay, what do I have to do today? What's on the schedule? What's going to interrupt that? All those kind of things. But I also would dream about a different life. I would dream about a life where I was free to do what I wanted with my time. Like, what would that look like? A life where I could take days or weeks or even months off at a time and not have to ask anyone's permission. And everything just keeps rolling and the money keeps coming in. Like, is that possible? A life where I didn't have to miss a moment of my kids' lives because of work. A life where I could manage my work around their schedule such that When they're going to school, I'm there. When they're coming home from school, I'm there. They don't have to miss me and I don't have to miss them. A life where my work is directly tied to my unique calling, passion, expertise, and gifting. And a life where anything I don't want to do related to work, I either don't do it entirely, I just eliminate it, or I delegate it off to someone else. I had these dreams, and I would sit in that parking lot and think about these kind of things and wonder, is this possible for me? Am I ever going to be able to just not have to sit here in this parking lot and then go into that building and deal with all the things that I have to deal with, get up the next day and do the same thing all over again? Is it possible for me to have a different life? But these were just dreams until I took action. There's no one who's going to give you this good of a life. And I knew that. And that's part of the reason why I had such a tension around it. I was just like, if this is going to happen, it's going to be me doing it. So around 2017, I started to do something about this tension that I felt. I started to experiment and research everything I could find around the idea of passive income, making money online business, whatever you want to call it. I was like, I don't know what's out there. I don't know what opportunities are there, but I'm going to start researching and I'm willing to jump in and experiment. So I did. I experimented with a ton of things. If there was an idea that I thought was worth trying, I tried it. And I actually have a list of some of the things that I dove into and was willing to experiment with and try just because I thought maybe they would work. Here it is. I started a blog because somebody said you should start a blog. Maybe you can make money doing that. Build a physical products brand. I looked into it. Didn't actually do it, but I really looked into it. Make a YouTube channel. Sure. How about 4 channels? I was willing to experiment with any possible thing that could work. Review products on YouTube. Yeah, if it will make me money, I'll do that. I have a review channel to this day, and a lot of the early days of this channel were product reviews because I was like, if I can make money from affiliate sales, I'll do it. Start a podcast? Of course. I started a podcast. Write a book? I wrote 2 books. Make a print-on-demand t-shirt design company? Sure, we tried that with merch by Amazon. The point I'm trying to make is I literally was like, if I can build a different life for myself, I will do it. I will not let it be because I didn't try. And so through years of this trial and error, I was able to really hone in on what actually works for me. And so I developed a method of taking my unique experiences, skills, passions, and interests, building an audience of people who want to learn about those things from me, and then creating income from that. That is a lot of work up front, but becomes very passive over time. I did that by building this targeted audience of people up who want to learn from me and then offering them a combination of coaching and digital products like courses, membership sites, and things like that. And this began to work. And I've actually made this business model work in 2 completely different niches, working with 2 completely different types of people. I help pastors preach with confidence and clarity at preachingdonkey.com. And I do content, courses, I had a membership site, I do affiliate products, all kinds of things for that audience. And then I started a personal brand where I help aspiring entrepreneurs start and grow passive income style online businesses so they can escape the 9-to-5 and have the life that they want. In 2 completely different niches, working with 2 completely different people, I've repeated this process with the exact same model twice after tons of experimentation and trying to figure out what actually works. And then I've actually coached a few hundred people directly on how to do this in their businesses. And I've seen some amazing success of people who had an interest, a talent, a skill, an ability, an experience, something that they know, and they took that, started making content about it, started building an audience of people who want to learn that thing from them, and they started monetizing it through coaching, consulting, courses, membership sites, etc. That business model works. It's simple, but it's not easy. If it were easy, everybody would do it. It's clear, but it's not quick. I can give you a clear path, but it's not necessarily a get rich quick. It's a lot of upfront work with a massive payoff down the road. And the more you put in upfront, the more it works for you as you're building an audience, making content that they want to learn, building products to teach them specific things. All of that is part of this process. So the path from where you are now, if you're like I was 4 or 5 years ago, where you sit in that parking lot in the morning and you think, is there a different life for me? The path from that to where you could have time freedom, work freedom, location freedom. If you want all of those things, I can show you that exact path. And that's one of the things that I love to do. I've done it hundreds of times and I've helped hundreds of people, and I'm just getting started, and I cannot wait until tomorrow's training, September 13th at 12 Central, lanesebring.com/training. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the exact steps of what I did, what I've helped hundreds of people do to get where they want to go so that they can escape the 9-to-5 if they want to. And here's the thing, you may not want to. It may just be that you have something inside of you that just needs to get out, and you need to build something, and you're never going to quit your job because you love your job, and that's awesome. So whether you want to quit your job or you don't want to quit your job, that's not really the point. The point is to let what's in you come out, impact a lot of people, and make a ton of money, because there's so many amazing things that you can do in the world when you have impact and influence and income. I feel like in a lot of ways I've experimented so you don't have to. I'm going to give you a shortcut. And if you want to quit your job, what's cool is it's really just a math problem. You need X amount of dollars a month to replace whatever you're making. Once you get to that point in your online business, you can leave your job and you can grow your business even faster, and that will outpace whatever you're making. Let's say you're making $90,000, you can get to $90,000 pretty quick. And then you can get to $180,000 pretty quick, and on from there. So you don't have to dread Mondays. You don't have to dread Tuesdays, Wednesdays, whatever. I love my work week. Love it. Sundays, I am itching to dive back in because there's so many fantastic things that I get to do. I get to do the things that uniquely contribute to my purpose. I get to do things that uniquely align with my skills and passion. And I get to do that 5 days a week. And then when the weekend comes, because I do take weekends off, I don't like to work on the weekends. I love the time I get to spend with my family. It's so much fun. And then when Monday comes, I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to it. On Fridays, at the end of the day, sometimes I'm kind of bummed because the work is over. I love what I do so much. When my kids go to school, I'm there. When they come home from school, I'm here. If I want to take a week off, I do it. If I want to take several months off, I do it. I took most of the summer off. Basically, when my kids got out of school in May until they went back to school in August, I didn't work a whole lot at all. I did almost nothing. But my business is set up to where I can get ahead. It runs itself. So much of this is automated using software, and so it doesn't miss a beat, and the money keeps rolling in. This is possible. I'm nothing special. I'm just a guy that was determined to have a different life. And if you want a different life, I can help you achieve that. So come tomorrow, lanesebring.com/training. So register for free right now, lanesebring.com/training.